Back in August 2022, Nicolás Maduro boasted about the cryptocurrency created by his government in 2018, backed by some of Venezuela's natural resources, oil, iron, gold, and diamonds. This digital coin was called the Petro. Here's what he said at a press conference, quote, "The Petro is flying, my friend. The Petro is one of the most solid and stable cryptocurrencies in the entire world. If you want to invest in crypto and protect your money, invest in Petro, which is the most stable currency in the entire global crypto system." Unquote. I think at that very moment Maduro could barely stop himself from yelling, "The Petro to the moon!" A year and a half later, in January 2024, all operations carried out with the Petro were suspended, and this cryptocurrency was for all intents and purposes deceased. To understand what happened, let's go to the genesis of the shenanigans. The Petro was conceived in a climate of severe economic crisis. By 2018, Venezuela was grappling with one of the highest inflation rates globally, which had rendered the bolivar, the national currency, nearly worthless. In response, the government hoped that the Petro could stabilize the economy by providing an alternative asset tied to Venezuela's extensive oil reserves. Pegged at an initial price of $60 per coin, the Petro was launched via an initial coin offering, ICO, during which the government claimed it raised $735 million. However, these funds were not verified by any independent auditing body, raising questions about the ICO's actual success. From day one, the Petro struggled to gain traction due to several inherent issues. Its primary selling point was its backing by Venezuela's oil reserves, yet no mechanism was in place to verify these reserves, nor were they accessible to independent auditors. The government also provided conflicting information about the currency's backing, initially claiming it was oil-backed, but later mentioning other resources such as gold and diamonds, which only added to investor skepticism. Additionally, its value and issuance were controlled by the Venezuelan government, undermining the cryptocurrency's legitimacy and stability in a way that distinguished it from decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Unlike conventional cryptocurrencies, which operate on publicly accessible blockchains, the Petro's technical infrastructure was opaque. Venezuela's government initially built the Petro on Ethereum, but then moved it to a private, inaccessible blockchain. This shift created transparency issues, leading analysts to question the currency's supply and circulation. The Petro was promoted for various uses, including paying taxes and some government services. However, it had limited usefulness outside of these narrow applications. Internationally, it faced scrutiny from governments wary of its intent. The U.S. Treasury quickly banned transactions involving the Petro, fearing it was a ploy to bypass sanctions. Domestically, Venezuela's National Assembly, dominated by the opposition, condemned it as unconstitutional, arguing that it represented an unauthorized issuance of state debt. All the aforementioned challenges were nothing compared to what came in May 2023. It was then when the Venezuelan government was rocked by a massive corruption scandal that centered around the misuse of public funds from Petróleos de Venezuela, PDVSA, the state-owned oil company. This scandal highlighted how the Petro and other cryptocurrencies allegedly played a role in funneling state assets away from the public and into the pockets of high-ranking officials and their associates. At the heart of the scandal was Tarek El-Aissami, a prominent Venezuelan politician who had held various powerful positions, including vice president and minister of oil. El-Aissami, alongside several other officials, was accused of misappropriating millions of dollars from PDVSA through complex schemes involving crypto. The Petro, despite its limited use among the general public, was reportedly used in this scheme as a tool for financial maneuvering. Allegations suggest that PDVSA, under the leadership of El-Aissami and others, conducted oil sales that bypassed the traditional banking system by using cryptocurrencies as intermediaries. Venezuela's oil sales had been heavily impacted by U.S. sanctions, which restricted the country's access to traditional financial networks and deterred foreign buyers from dealing directly with the state oil company. To navigate these sanctions, officials allegedly used cryptocurrencies, including the Petro, as a way to conduct transactions with international buyers without needing to go through the U.S.-controlled financial system. Cryptocurrencies offer a degree of anonymity and ease of transfer that can complicate tracking and regulation. The Petro, being government-controlled and used in a closed system, was reportedly manipulated to mask the flow of money. Officials are accused of transferring embezzled funds to private accounts or using these assets to then acquire hard currencies like US dollars through intermediary cryptocurrency exchanges. These untraceable transfers made it challenging to detect the diversion of funds from the company's accounts. As part of the scheme, PDVSA allegedly engaged in fraudulent contracts with buyers and shell companies that acted as intermediaries. The oil would be, quote-unquote, sold to these intermediaries, who would then pay in cryptocurrencies. This system allowed corrupt officials to sidestep the central bank and shift funds directly into accounts or assets controlled by individuals involved in the scheme. The Petro and other digital currencies were instrumental in settling these fake contracts. As Minister of Oil, El Aissami was in a unique position to authorize oil transactions. Reports link him directly to the crypto-related financial structures that enabled the embezzlement. Following the scandal's exposure, El Aissami resigned from his position, claiming innocence while pledging to assist in investigations. His resignation did little to quell suspicions, as investigators alleged that he and other officials had siphoned millions from the oil sales, allegedly facilitated by the government-issued Petro. The scandal further eroded any remaining confidence in this cryptocurrency, as it became clear that rather than serving as a stabilizing force in Venezuela's economy, the Petro had become a tool for corruption. For Venezuelans, the scandal underscored the risks associated with the digital coin's government control and lack of transparency, reinforcing the perception that the currency was an ineffective and untrustworthy financial instrument. It also highlighted how the closed and opaque structure of the Petro could be manipulated, with officials exploiting its centralized management and limited oversight. People familiar with crypto can attest to the fact that at the heart of the industry lies a strong distaste for government involvement in financial markets. Hence, a government-issued cryptocurrency sounds a bit like an oxymoron. The scandal left a lingering question about who bore the brunt of the financial losses. While exact figures remain unclear due to the opaque nature of both the Petro and the alleged embezzlement scheme, some estimates suggest that millions of dollars in state funds were redirected, representing a significant loss to the Venezuelan economy. There is also speculation that some foreign investors, possibly from countries aligned with Venezuela, may have sustained losses. For ordinary Venezuelans, the misuse of state funds through the Petro exacerbated the economic crisis. The state company's revenue, which could have funded infrastructure programs or helped stabilize the economy, was instead siphoned into private hands. Additionally, any Venezuelan citizens or businesses that invested in the Petro, hoping it would become a stable asset, likely lost money as the currency failed to gain value or utility and ultimately became defunct. On January 15, 2024, the token was shut down and any remaining holdings were liquidated, effectively sending it to money heaven, or perhaps money hell, ending its run as one of the world's most high-profile state-backed cryptocurrency experiments. But now, I'd like to know what you think. Was there something that the Venezuelan government could have done differently in order to make the Petro successful? Are cryptocurrencies a good investment? Are they a tool for crime? Or was the Petro an outlier rather than the norm? This is Latinometry. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our interesting videos about Latin America and the world. Please like and share this video, and thanks for watching.